there's a need for a new world order. Someday, in the next few years, a solution will emerge.
Don't assume it was left by accident. If you see something, say something.
Vice President Dick Cheney
We are changed.
takes a question from David Rockefeller.
Mr. President, I just enjoyed so much your whole speech, but I was particularly pleased that you gave such a strong endorsement for the free trade agreement for all the Americans. A subject that has been of great concern to me for many years, particularly recently, and I think it's absolutely essential for the strength of our economy.
To fulfill the long-held promise of a new world order, we can find meaning and reward by serving some higher purpose than ourselves. A shining purpose, the illumination of 1,000 points of light. What is at stake is more than one small
Exposing
country.
the collectivist global
It
elites.
is a big idea.
Malthusian quest for a new world order. A
where
one-world
diverse
dictatorial
nations
government where all
are
aspects
drawn
of
together
human
in
life
common cause.
are under their control.
We have been having a little trouble with the demons of the internet, but we do have Fritz Springmeier online after some great efforts to get this all straightened out. Again, this is Howard Nima and Vinny Be the Truth. We are so honored to have Mr. Springmeier, renowned author and New World Order researcher. And Fritz, thank you so much for spending time with us this afternoon. And
thanks for
the book here that I'm holding for the live stream audience is The Bloodlines of the Illuminati. This book was written, I think it was written in the 90s, 1995, and is now back in print. And Fritz, why don't you give our listening audience a little overview of Bloodlines of the Illuminati?
Sure. The book tells the answers to the question who they are. So oftentimes I would be talking to people and they would say, well, if there is such a thing as the Illuminati, who are they? You know, who are the they that are the powers that be that are behind the scenes? And so I wrote a book to answer that question. One of the powerful things about the Bloodlines book is that once a person has read it, it will be a tool for them it will open up them to see things around themselves. And there have been many people that have contacted me and said, oh, because of your book, I was able to see such and such about such a person, and I learned even more. So learning is a step-by-step process, and this will be like the first step to even greater things. It talks about the most powerful families, and a lot of it is history that it can be found in other places. But what I'm doing is I'm drawing connections and bringing out the meaning of certain things. For instance, there was recently I think she was 12-year-old girl that talked about how the presidents were all related. Well, the Bloodlines book many years ago came out with a genealogy chart showing how 25 American presidents are closely related, and then there's other genealogy charts showing them related in other ways back to French and European royalty. But I'm going somewhere with that, where she's just saying, isn't this an interesting curiosity? Now, of course, the system totally ignored my genealogy research, and 16 years later, or whatever, now they've made her into somebody very, I guess you could use the word famous, because she's all over the internet and television about what her accomplishments.
Well, how you doing, Fritz? It's me, Vinny B. The Truth. Yeah, that's also because she's, very innocent. We talked about that. You put A and B together, where she just is an innocent character. That's why they like to use her. You also, I like to joke and call you the Portland Trailblazer. You really are a trailblazer in exposing the Illuminati bloodlines. Your book, people have been using it for a long time, getting a lot of information, making videos while you were a political prisoner. And my first question that I wanted to start off before we get into bloodlines is a little bit about your faith, and something that I've kind of noticed, and other people on the internet have been coming up with, that it seems like there's a lot of people that expose the New World Order, but I've noticed a pattern where it's the people that expose the New World Order but also speak about the gospel of Jesus, and those seem to be the ones that are taken away from us or imprisoned, and it seems like it's okay to talk about the New World Order if you're for the New Age religion. Is that something that seems accurate, or can you tell us a little bit about your faith and if that's true or not?
Yeah, I think there is a pattern there. I think that one reason why they're concerned about sincere Christians exposing this is because in order to counter evil, there has to be a positive. For instance, when I was working with victims of Illuminati mind control, in order to bring them out of that, I had to have something that was powerful and positive. I had to have the miracles of God. I had to have the love of Christ. I had to have something positive. These secular people that are whatever they are, New Agers, that are running around exposing the New World Order, if they're not giving something positive to their listeners, then all they're providing is information, and the people don't have a positive force to step out of the control.
Yeah, I think it definitely shows the power.
It does make a threat to them for someone to offer hope and the hope that Christ gives.
Okay, thank you. Just to finish up this thing, I also wanted to talk about one of those people is John Todd, and I think a lot of people, connect you and Todd together, and there hasn't been a lot of information, and I've been wondering, and a lot of others, is there anything you could tell us about John Todd and what happened with him?
Well, John Todd originally got fed up, and he got... While the system was setting him up, the Christians were busy abandoning him, and everybody abandoned him. I tried to maintain contact with him, and when he went to prison, I tried to help him while he was in prison. And then at a certain point, he called me up and demanded money, was very demanding of a large sum of money, and of course, I didn't have that, and I was turned off by the way he demanded it.
Yeah.
And then the next thing I heard through the grapevine, trying to keep tabs on what was happening to him, was that he had been killed. It wasn't until years later that I found out that he wasn't actually killed, that they convicted him of new sexual molestation charges and sent him to a special prison for sexual molesters, where he got a life sentence. And then people that had actually been in contact with him said that he had renounced Christianity and gone back to Satanism. So that's where he's at right now.
Wow. Thank you.
Very, very interesting. You touched on so many things. I think it's very important for the people to know. I mean, they even advertising it in newspapers and magazines. About there's an attack against Christianity. It's clear, and there's a problem because it doesn't matter if you're a Christian or if you're a Jew or if you're, this idea of attacking religions, especially what's going on now, with all the idea of Planned Parenthood, where we can go into I'm sure when we get into the Rockefeller family with the bloodline, we'll go into the fact that the Rockefeller eugenics is all, this is we're under of eugenics, and we're trying to expose this. We do this every show. We bring up the fact that they're killing us through the food and through the vaccines and through all of this, but
Yeah.
it is just as much attack on it's a one world religion. They must kill religion, and the biggest one to kill would be Christianity. And that's
Right.
that's what they're trying to do.
Right. The monotheistic religions, which have people following the Bible, they're slated for extinction.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. They're part of the 80%.
We will get something with the label Christianity, but it's not going to be the old time religion.
That's for sure.
It's going to be something else.
Well, I think that also shows, though, like I was trying to say before, that there has to be power. There's obviously that they're afraid of the power that believing in God. It's very obvious to me that it gives a person a lot of power to where you don't have fear. Obviously, that's what you have. For you to do everything you've done can only come from the power you get from believing in a higher creator. Is that accurate?
That's accurate. It's taken faith repeatedly to move forward. It's just like last time, this was on February 2nd, I was on Alex Jones' show,
Mm-hmm.
and then when the show ended, I was scheduled to be on a show the next day too, but when the show ended, right then, somebody was busy at my bank taking all my money out of my account. Now, a normal person probably would have said, whoa. They would have called up Alex Jones and said, hey, I just can't handle all this heat that this being on your show brings.
Mm-hmm.
And they would have said, I just got to bow out. But I asked myself, what would a man of faith do, And I had a commitment to be on the show again. And I got it resolved where I got my bank to give me back my money. But, if I hadn't had faith, that would have, I definitely would have, they would have intimidated me.
Yeah.
Well, that's the idea. It's the intimidation. It's this constant way they just constantly do attack. And let's speak about this for a moment. Look at our government. What's going on here with the National Defense Authorization Act 1031 1032, which gives the government the right to basically just take you away into rendition, torture you, never tell your family where you are forever. And they're targeting the Patriot movement. People do not understand. They are targeting Christians. They are targeting anyone who's a constitutionalist. And we have Homeland Security's out of control. And these mind control people, and I really would like to, the book that we're talking about is Bloodlines, but the mind control, I talk about a lot, and a lot of my friends, even people that I speak with, this is the part that they don't really believe. Because I said you're so mind controlled, you have this belief system that's very hard to crack. Could we just speak a little bit about, the mind control that's allowing the New World Order to deceive the population, and how we can better use the information that we have as researchers and truth seekers to get the public to understand this and wake them up? Because the hardest part is these CIA slide responses where they just dismiss, conspiracy theory is just a word that they just say that word and everybody just thinks it's nonsense, you're crazy, you're a kook. Could you just talk about that for a few minutes?
Sure. First, we have to deal with just the general way that people's minds function. I'll historically call people to point out to them that, in World War II, there were a number of times that by miracles, really, there were Jewish people that escaped concentration camps, got back to their cities, and went to their friends and warned them, hey, they've got a program of exterminating all of us. They have these camps where they work us to death and where they shoot us, line us up in ditches and shoot us and on and on. And even though they would be going to their friends, even though their friends would have known them their whole lifetime, and that, it wasn't something they wanted to hear, so they wouldn't believe it. Early on in the World War II, after the United States came into the war, the Germans landed 2 teams of saboteurs in America, and the guy who was in charge of it actually didn't like Hitler and the Nazis, and he immediately defected to the FBI, and he told the FBI that when he had been in Germany, that he had learned about how the Einsatz group and were going through Eastern Europe and shooting Jews in the back of the head by the hundreds and thousands, and they weren't even interested in hearing what he had to say. The FBI just turned them off and changed the subject. So this is the natural human response to information that we don't like. Well, where this plays a role for the Illuminati is, let's go back and people ask themselves, who built my frame of reference? As you are a child and you're growing up, the television, the state-controlled education system, all of these things are contributing to your frame of reference, your worldview. And so when we ask ourselves, who built our worldview, we come to realize that other people around us did that, and the Illuminati have been very skillful that they operate outside the box of what people's thinking is. Are we still coming through clear?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Clear as a bell and resonating.
Okay.
Absolutely, as far as that, right, you were spot on. That's the whole thing. It's now how can we how is a more effective way that we can alert people to this paradigm? Like, I mean, you tell them history and then they still laugh at you. You tell them that like what you just was saying, all those things. And now we know what happened. We know Hitler killed people. We know how many he killed. We know Stalin. We know all of these tyrants.
Fritz, since we're talking about Hitler, can you go into a little bit with your book about Hitler and his bloodline, and maybe a little bit into really with the Aryan race or
oh yeah, the
what that was
Rothschilds.
about?
Well, yeah, I'm not sure at what level to speak at. Hitler's mother worked for the Rothschilds and was impregnated, and Hitler was a secret descendant of the Rothschilds. One of the first things he did when he went into Austria on the Einfluss, where they joined Austria and Germany together, he had people move in and took control of the records that showed that would have identified him back to the Rothschilds. His actual birth name was Schicklgruber, but if you try to, Hail Schicklgruber just doesn't ring very well. So he was very fortunate that he changed his name to Hitler because it has a much better ring to it.
Yeah.
They did the name change and did a good job of hiding where his origins had come from. When he finished World War II, I said that wrong. When he finished World War I, he was placed in a hospital, and that was the point in time where they gave him heavy-duty mind control programming for his mission in life. He was a programmed multiple personality, and that will help people understand history, because at the very same time that he was convincingly giving the British assurances that he would do such and such, he could turn around the next hour and go in a totally different direction with his generals and be talking to them about the preparations that they needed to do for World War II. So he had this multiple personality disorder that allowed him to flip in many different directions, which would deceive people. So he was set up, and he was funded by very powerful people for his mission. He didn't just happen. The phenomenon of Nazism and Hitler just didn't happen isolated. It was something that was stage managed, and there was occult societies, the Brill Society, the Germanen Society, the Thule Gesellschaft. There were different secret German Knights Templar group. There were different occult groups that were behind the foundation of the creation of Nazism and supported Hitler's rise to power.
Now, isn't there also in your book you talk about Abraham Lincoln? Isn't there something also in your book you show who he's really, who his real father is? Can you get into that?
Yeah, that's one thing. A lot of these people have secret genealogies. Bill Clinton, who wasn't born Bill Clinton, by the way, he was birth name or something else, but these people, the genealogies behind them are oftentimes muddied up. And Abraham Lincoln, both his mother and so-called father are obscured, but what we were able to find out was we were able to track down that his mother worked for the Springs, or visited the Springs, and Washington and Springs were a line of the Rothschilds, and she was impregnated there, and this whole thing about Thomas Lincoln was a strange way they got garbled together. The whole history thing, yes, he was a descendant of the Rothschilds, and when he grew up, he was a railroad lawyer. He was a big corporation attorney for the big boys. The Illuminati went into building railroads. The capital involved in building a railroad is way beyond the capabilities of a normal person. You had to be a very exceptionally rich person. And so the Illuminati, working through their people in the government, got special concessions and had the money to build these railroads. And so Abraham Lincoln was a railroad attorney. Of course, his popular image is that he was out there with a axe chopping wood,
Fritz, I don't want to Fritz, I don't want to interrupt.
He's a lot more honest than being a railroad attorney.
Exactly.
Being a big corporate attorney.
But
we don't think of him as being a big corporate attorney, but that's what he was.
yeah, he was a corporate attorney.
And then we discovered that he had a lot of hidden things in his life. And when I talk about Abraham Lincoln or people like Lincoln and Benjamin Franklin, it's not that I had any axe to grind against these people. When I was a teenager, there were certain people that I chose in history to emulate. I wanted to study their life in detail, and I wanted to use their lives as an example. And for instance, Benjamin Franklin, and I came to find out that Benjamin Franklin was the primary mason. He was the head mason over several Masonic bodies in what later became the United States in the colony. He also was head of French Freemason, remember, in France. And he was Postmaster General, and he was head of the Rosicrucians. And when he was in places like France and England, he participated in the Hellfire Club and Satanic Rites. In fact, they even found in the house that he was in London, they found the children's remains that were used sacrificially.
I've reported that.
And so, I went there and studied Benjamin Franklin and Abraham Lincoln with very positive attitudes towards these people to emulate their good side. It's not like they were entirely evil. There were some very admirable traits to all of them. But historians have oftentimes wondered why Benjamin Franklin had so much power. Well, he had so much power because he was the head of all of these occult groups.
Yeah.
Some of them were Illuminati groups, and
also I know I know that you are big into the Civil War. I've heard you say in the past too that was one of your things you really like to research, and you found out a lot about that with Ulysses Grant and others. You want to talk about that a little?
Say again, you came in broken.
About the Civil War. I know that was one of your topics you like to talk about. Do you want to talk about Ulysses? Yeah.
I talk about the Civil War. Well, in order to create wars, a lot of things have to happen. And if we look at the causes of the Civil War, we'll see many different causes. We'll also see lots of strings being pulled. And where I want to tie this in is you're in Connecticut. And Connecticut, that area had a role in the Civil War. For some reason, Connecticut has been very active in these wars, like George Washington's army in New York City before the British attacked. Half of the soldiers were from Connecticut, and then when the Civil War happened, a large share of Connecticut outdid themselves by providing soldiers, and they've built a lot of war munitions in Connecticut.
And they still do. It's the head of the military-industrial. That's what drives this state, the military-industrial complex, Fritz. It's it.
Exactly. And one of the Illuminati families, the DuPonts, have a lot of their munitions factories in Delaware. The state of Delaware has been run by the DuPonts. But Connecticut's had a lot of war industry all along and has been really a big participant in all of the wars, providing a lot of munitions and soldiers. So going back, I'm connecting all of this and trying to connect a bunch of different trails here. The Collins family, which was an Illuminati family that came over with the Puritans, there were satanic families that came over under the disguise of the front of being Puritans, and the Collins family was one of those. The Collins family, in turn, created the Unitarian Church. Unitarian Church, in turn, created Yale, which is their New Haven. Yale has been a hotbed, has been a major focal point for a lot of Illuminati activity. People that were connected to the Illuminati have come over and taught at Yale. They created the Skull and Bone Society and Scroll and Key and some other Illuminati fraternal organizations there. So Yale has been a very important place. Well, okay, so then we've got the Unitarians, which originally pretended to be Presbyterians, but were really not Presbyterians. They were supported by state funds for a while in the early history of Connecticut. So we had a number of these Unitarian ministers that got together and created a club that was called the Bird Club. And the Bird Club, in turn, their big project was to foment revolution, and they were the ones that were instrumental in turning John Brown into who John Brown was. They brought over a guy named Bondi from Europe. Well, Charles Sumner, who was a senator who belonged to the Bird Club, he went over to Europe and talked with Giuseppe Mazzini. Mazzini, if you get into European history, you'll find out he was a major revolutionist, and he was Illuminati. He was connected back with a lot of these secret occult organizations. Mazzini is a big figure. Americans haven't heard so much about him. But anyway, Charles Sumner was over there, and through those connections with the Illuminati revolutionists in Europe, he brought over this guy, this training Bondi, to train John Brown. So John Brown just wasn't this loose cannon that all of a sudden decided to do this stuff. He was being funded, he was being supplied, he was being trained by these Unitarians that connect back into this whole Illuminati string of activity.
You know, Fritz, if I can just interrupt, it's very interesting because right around, first of all, John Brown came from this town that I live in, Torrington. I live in Torrington, Connecticut. This is where we're broadcasting from, Torrington, Connecticut. And interestingly enough, Collinsville is just a few miles away. And all of these names and stuff that you're mentioning are still resonating very clearly here. And there is a Masonic temple on a five-corner, on five corners, with it facing the temple is facing, the actual face of the temple is facing to the southeast, and it is in the center of Unionville, Connecticut. Interestingly enough, Unitarian Unionville. It's very funny. Very funny how you learn something new every day. Listen, we're having a little bit of a jar, in and out with the Skype there. Are you hearing us good enough?
You come in broken, but if I can't hear you, I'll just ask you to repeat yourself.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking maybe we, I don't know if we want to try to get a better connection. What do you think, Truth? Truth War?
You mean hang up and call again?
I don't know, because it's getting a little jarbled. I think the demons are at it again.
Yeah, the funny thing is that you both sound pretty clear to me.
Oh, you both we sound clear as long as listen, Truth. You're the engineer. If we sound good to the people, that's fine. Okay.
All right, Fritz. Fritz, I'd like to get into another bloodline that I have. I do a lot of research into. I feel it's which is the tribe of Dan. I see, you got the Danube River, the River of Dan. You got Denmark, the Danish. A lot seems to come from the tribe of Dan. Is there anything you could add that you know about the tribe of Dan and this bloodline, or who comes from that now?
Well, people that are familiar with the Old Testament scriptures, you'll notice if you look real closely that the tribe of Dan, their logo was a snake, and they're the black sheep of the 12 tribes. In fact, you will notice, and people probably have not looked, so they haven't really noticed, but when they list all of the tribes in Revelations that are in heaven, the tribe of Dan isn't there. The tribe of Dan was in ancient Israel, but they don't make it into heaven, you'll see that all the tribes that are listed, Dan is not listed in the book of Revelation. But the tribe of Joseph was split into Ephraim and Manasseh, and so they got a double portion, and so they're able to, by splitting the tribe of Joseph into two tribes, able to have 12 tribes in heaven, but the tribe of Dan doesn't make it there. The tribe of Dan became very evil, and there's a history out there. I'm not the only person that's been trying to track down the tribe of Dan, and basically what you see is the tribe of Dan went to Greece, and they became the leaders, the political leaders of Greece. And from Greece, then, these powerful families moved to Rome and became mixed in with the powerful families in Rome, and became Roman leadership. And anybody who knows history knows that the Caesars were very corrupt, and your whole aristocratic class there in Rome were exceptionally corrupt. So that was one way that the tribe of Dan got into the elite bloodlines, was that way. But there are also some other migrations. The tribe of Dan, there was another group that went to Scotland, and then there was another group that came overland and left names, a series of rivers across Russia named after. All right?
Yeah.
Yep. Truth was just giving us a little note that we're getting a little, it was a little echo. I was just trying to fix it. I don't know if it's better, but...
Yeah, so in your book, would they fall under the 13th Holy Movingian? Is that where their bloodline would fall?
You asked me about the Merovingians?
Well, I mean, this bloodline that we're talking about that went to Greece and then to Rome, is this part of the Movingian bloodline?
Well, the Merovingians, to go back to ruler named Merovingian, and that's different. But one thing that you have to understand is, over a period of time, the Illuminati have managed to interbreed these powerful families. The idea is that they're taking the occult power that these different families have and multiplying it synergistically by interbreeding.
Okay.
That's
how they
while
hide
there
it.
is a lot of inbreeding, they try to keep marrying within their bloodlines. They do bring in other bloodlines that are powerful in order to. It's like
Hello?
their blood with other powerful bloodlines. So the tribe of Dan has worked their way in, and from what I've been informed, is that your Antichrist is going to have blood from a number of these powerful bloodlines, including the tribe of Dan.
Wow. The Movingian.
Are you still there?
Yes, we're here. We're having a little bit of a echoing. So when we speak, when you're speaking, we have to mute the mic. Just so you know. But just want to. There was a little bit of a static. I just want to make sure that your voice is getting heard well.
I was gonna.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's all. Little technical issues. Sorry.
Fritz, to stay on the Movingian, you have in here where they talk about they consider themselves divine and descendants of Lucifer. What do you have to say? Do you think they actually, this is real, or this is something they're claiming? Can you get into this? Do they actually have the bloodline of Jesus and Lucifer?
Wow. That's a very sensitive issue for Christians as to whether Christ had children or not.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, the Merovingians believe that they're a holy bloodline that have the blood of Christ in them. And this is the 13th bloodline. There's a secret society formed to protect that bloodline, the Priory of Zion, which works then through other secret societies. Is it true or not? I can't make a statement one way or the other. I know that they well, at least sincerely, believe that they are descended from Christ. I've heard a lot of people express varying ideas as to, but at this point, I just have to say, I really don't know.
Well, I would say
I probably take issue with some Christians that just dismiss it out of hand, because I know that Christ was a rabbi, and rabbis back then, you weren't considered a respectable rabbi unless you were married. So it wouldn't surprise me if Christ was married. But
I agree with you, but I think that since they, I don't know if you know, but they've been for the past couple years with this guy Dan Brown and the Da Vinci Code and others. It's like the media in Hollywood's kind of putting the message out there. So that's what really makes me start to doubt it, because I feel like if it was real, they probably wouldn't be letting us know. So that's something that I feel like it's probably not real. So that's all I had to add. I just wanted to hear your opinion about that. Well,
and that's about all I would have as an opinion. I don't know the final conclusion as to whether they are or aren't. But I can say this, that the teachings of Christ have to be spiritually understood, and just like the people back in ancient Israel, they thought that maybe because, their forefather was Abraham, that placed them in a special category, and it doesn't. Each person has to spiritually become a child of Christ and a child of God. It doesn't matter if you can genealogically trace yourself back to a good person. You yourself need to have the ransom blood of Christ. You yourself need to have faith, and you can't get into heaven on the ticket of having some ancient forefather that was a godly person.
Yes.
It doesn't work that way.
Right.
Another thing that I've talked about on this show, I'd like to have you to back it up so it's more clear to people that I forget if which interview I watched you talk about this, but about Onassis and about with the wars where like everybody's boat basically went down except for all of Onassis were left unharmed. I'd like to, if you could tell the audience a little bit about that if they maybe didn't believe me, they could believe you.
I think that's one of the ways that people can see that history has been manipulated. We're dealing with a world war where there was unrestricted submarine attacks upon ships. And especially in the Mediterranean, you had heavy fighting. And yet Onassis was able to sail his ships to anywhere he wanted them, and both sides left his ships untouched. Neither side even attacked. They were never even attacked. And yet all the other Greek ships, and there was according to one statement, there were 450 Greek merchant ships. Essentially, all of those Greek merchant ships were sunk during the war, except for Onassis. And he, on the other side of the coin, his weren't even attacked. And that takes collaboration at the highest levels.
Oh, yeah.
And, I'm not the only person to point out how there were certain things that were off limits. When I was on Alex Jones' show, he was talking about how people had told him that were eyewitnesses about how the Ford plants over there in Germany that were producing war materials for Germany were off limits to their bombers. There have always been certain targets that have been off limits. In the War of 1812, Astor was allowed to trade with the British and became incredibly rich because the U.S. government turned a blind eye, or not only turned a blind eye, but they gave them special permission to trade with the enemy. And yet places like Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, the New England states during the War of 1812 went into a depression because their fleets were not allowed to trade or sail. And but here's Astor and part of the Illuminati, and he's allowed to trade with the enemy.
Let's speak of Astor for a minute, Fritz. I have information from my research, and again, this is one of the things that makes that belief system of something that's so well inbred in people, it's very hard to believe for a lot of folks, is that the sinking of the Titanic had to do with the Federal Reserve and getting rid of the head of the Astor family because they were against the world government and moving towards the New World Order. Do you have any clarification on this? Because I have some evidence that suggests that might have been a Mason, that they were Masons, and the one that actually steered the ship lived, and he was a Mason. Do you have any information on that? Since we're talking about the Astors.
I know that Colonel Jack Astor, I mentioned about him in the book. Here he is, bloodline Illuminati and a major financial kingpin. He could have muscled his way into one of the lifeboats, but he allowed other people to go before him and went down with the ship, which was admirable. And I guess that's one of the things that I might point out is that people born in these Illuminati families are not just pure evil. There's a lot of positive traits in them, just like everybody else. And as far as what you're saying, that it was planned, that's totally new to me.
Yeah, see, again, I cannot clarify. That's why it's just some research that I've uncovered. I don't know if it's disinformation, which there's a ton of that. It's because it is sort of hard to believe.
Well, Fritz, I also noticed you made a good point in one of your interviews you've done in the past, that almost every war, it starts with a ship being attacked. If you remember talking about that?
Right.
Well, I was gonna say, right now with Iran, I kind of see like what you were talking about. We could probably get ready in Iran where there'll probably be a ship attacked, and maybe that might start the next war, which goes along with what I've seen you say in the past, where every war seems to have a ship going down. I don't know what the symbolism is for that. If you could maybe explain.
You kind of got broken up on your question, but I think you were asking me to explain about this pattern that they use ships to get the United States into war.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a convenient thing to do, and you notice that they're still kind of doing it in a way when American ships are like over there at Yemen. Then what was it? An American destroyer was severely damaged by bombs when it was over there in Yemen. So they're still doing it to jerk the cord, public sentiment. There's other ways to do it, but that seems to be a very convenient way. I don't know what else would be worthwhile to say on that lines.
Yeah. Two things I'd like to move towards. Like, let's talk about what you were saying, like World War II and the lead towards the world government after, and the plans from this federal, basically the last 100 years, and how now we're moving into the end game stages here. Could you speak to your feelings on what's happened since the United Nations started world peace?
World peace, huh?
Yeah. Love bombs, Mr. Springmeier.
Wow. Well, it's like this Orwellian world where war is peace. We have all these peacekeepers going out and fighting. I don't know that the United Nations has brought much peace to the world. And there's been a lot of scandals wherever the United Nations peacekeeper troops have been. There's been all kinds of outrageous atrocities and things that have been done. So much for the peacekeepers. Again, it's that how you send out troops and call them peacekeepers. This is Orwellian newspeak where freedom is slavery and ignorance is strength. It's a couple things, and they call tyranny now security of this country.
Right, and people don't get this mind control. We were talking about this, that's a few minutes ago. That the people are under this mind control. We didn't really get to that root of that problem. Is how can we wake these people up? Because now, obviously, all of these, the world government that 25 years ago, if you said that, like with Tom Braden and Larry P. McDonald calling the Rockefellers controlling the Council on Foreign Relations and basically setting up a world government asinine, to now we know there's a world government. Agenda 21 is in place. They're already, the North American Union. It's there. It's just not been really. It's just under the surface. How can we get these folks to understand? What can
Well, it's really the mind control. How do we get people out of their mind control?
Yeah, because that's your success with getting people that were literally used by the Illuminati and by the governments to be sex slaves and to be Manchurian candidates and things. So please, I mean, what is your insight on that?
Well, people that have been in Illuminati are rather easy to tell about these things. They, on some level, know that they're true already. But for the common person that's just in a state of denial that just wants to have everything nice and fluffy and doesn't want his world rocked by the truth, he doesn't want reality to intrude upon his nice life. What you have is actually a spiritual problem. The person has to love truth. And how do you get somebody to love truth? Well, that's a spiritual issue. And when you can spiritually reach their heart, like a conversion, if somebody converts to Christ and they're really sincere, they get the Spirit of Christ in them. The Spirit of Christ is a spirit of truth. And because they love Christ and they love His Spirit and they love truth, then they're going to want the truth. And when people love the truth and they want the truth, they'll find out all this stuff very quickly on their own. There are a lot of things out there, and you probably can testify to the same thing. Your gut told you that there was something wrong here, or this person was doing this or something, and at first you didn't have all the details. You just had this feeling, this sense of it, and then later you had that sense of truth confirmed by the facts. But when somebody comes and loves the truth, immediately they're going to start. They're going to have an awareness that they may not have all the facts, but they're going to have an awareness in the right direction, and the spirit of truth is going to lead them into all truth. So it's really ultimately, with most people, the battle is a spiritual battle, and their heart has to get right, and they have to love Christ, they have to love the truth. And when they love that spirit, then they're going to find out a lot of this on their own.
I'd agree. I mean, you have to really understand the truth. I mean, we live in such a deceptive world, Fritz. I mean, everything is a deception. I mean, like if you're not feeling well, you call out, but you're really sad. You call in sick, but you're not really sick. I mean, we live in a world of deception. Even when you're doing things that are like like a white lie or whatever you want to call these things. Instead of we've gotten to be a society where there's no ownership. There's no, I hate to, get into these philosophers, but the idea of freedom and responsibility. I mean, if you're going to do something, you got to be responsible for it, no matter what the cost. We don't have that. We'll do whatever we want, and if we get caught, we'll try to figure out a way out of it. And this is a societal problem, and this is what these criminals who hijacked our government, that's what they figure. Paulson and Bernanke and all of these people at the Federal Reserve lying, saying we don't know where the money went, or I don't know, or they're just criminals, and they've just embraced this evil. They've embraced deceiving the people for obvious financial gain. I mean, what else could there be for them, except being part of the order?
Yes, we have a serious problem with honesty out there. The evil contains the seed of its own destruction. It's like in the Soviet Union. Their leadership were into deception, and that filtered down to the common people to the point that let's say you were a policeman. Well, you might be in on the take, So society starts collapsing, and the evil system collapses in on itself when nobody trusts each other any longer. Because the foundation of human communication is trust. And we're having that foundation seriously undermined in this country. For the system to continue, there has to be some level of trust. And as that trust is destroyed, society is going to increasingly have more problems.
Like if you see something, say something.
Is also going to have more problems.
Well, I'd like to take a second. We've been, I feel like, grilling you for a little while. I'd like to take a second to thank you again, Fritz, and let you know that there's a lot of people that have been waking up. There is like a awakening being felt around, and we are changed. And a lot of us, we are, like what you're saying, people that love truth. They're a lot of us are all look up to you and people like you, and where these truth is that would want to be here to support you and this whole movement. And I'm sure We Are Changes, which is everywhere in other countries, should all step up and do anything they can to help you, Fritz. And we'd also like to allow, We Are Change members or anybody listening, if you'd like to call, it's 860-866-4344. And you could talk to the Portland Trailblazer, Fritz Springmeier.
All right. And as we're talking about this, Fritz, like this police state that's rising. If you see something, say something. Come tattle on your neighbors. Don't trust your neighbors. We went from a society when I was a little kid growing up where everybody, on the block got together and they did things. They barbecued. They had whatever. Now it's like everybody's shuttered in their houses, and and they're very individual little tiny cliques, and nobody really. There's no community. There's no sense of community. And this is part of their shutting us in with the mind-controlled television and all of that. Again, we're glossing over a lot of these subjects. From the United Nations and their obvious attack on our sovereignty and and this war is peace that we're living through, they're getting so much closer, and taking away our rights. They're raiding raw milk farms. They're raiding people that walnuts are illegal. I mean, it's just it's beyond Orwellian. It's insane. And I think the only way we can do this is to join together and say, look, I just keep pointing it out. I mean, it's insane. Vaccines have to be mandatory, and they want all of this insane stuff. What about the rising police state? Where do you see all of this, all of these laws these draconian laws they just passed? Where do you see this going?
Wow, it's taking us in the direction of total control. You have these control freaks, and they're not satisfied with the level of control that they have. They want more and more and more control. It's an addiction. They're addicted to power.
Right. They even want to tell you how much salt to put in your food, and then they tell you to be healthy. They tell you to be healthy, and then then take pharmaceutical drugs. Eat right. Have a balanced diet. Exercise, and take all these big pharma drugs that kill you.
Is there anything in this country that isn't regulated?
It's on everything.
It's absolutely amazing how little we're allowed to think for ourselves anymore.
I also want to, I got to bring back, though, the whole thing with faith again, where a lot of this goes on because everybody's been taught to not believe in anything, and I feel like that allows for the fear factor for a lot of people. If you don't believe in anything, then you're someone that I feel like that could be controlled real easy with fear, the fear of death, the fear of imprisonment, where again, believing in Jesus or really just the belief in yourself or anything is power, and everybody's lost that.
Courage.
That's how I feel.
There's no courage.
But again, it has to do with faith, like Fritz says. Again, it's just so obvious that the people who talk about Jesus and have that power and belief is the big threats.
Yeah, well said. If you don't stand for something, if you don't have a belief, you're easy to control.
Yeah, especially with fear. And I feel like, that's probably what a lot of this is. The reason why a lot of people don't talk to their neighbors is everybody, has been taught that we're all different and to be afraid of each other and don't really have an understanding. And that's why everybody's like just sheltered off and wants to be in their own little world, where we really have to go back. I know you were Amish. Maybe we could talk about that a little if you want or if you don't. But I mean, sort of, that seems like that kind of maybe life has to go back to that way, maybe.
Well, I was trying to get out of the system. I was trying to be part of Christian community, and it was educational. One thing I saw while I was Amish was to be successful like they are in living outside of the system, you really need a community of people to do it. To be one person trying to struggle and survive outside of the system really doesn't work very well.
That's why it's so important for people to come together and help people like you. You talk about a community. That's what we really need to do. I don't know if you have any ideas or if there's anything, like I said, that people could do to help.
If I understood your question correctly, because you were kind of broken up, you were asking about community and what could help people move towards community.
Yeah, like
when I mention community, I'm not talking about like Jim Jones. People need to be able to constructively work together, and that's something that we've lost, and that in itself is a large subject. Just like in the Christian Patriot community, I see a lot of people just tearing each other apart. Or let's go an extended picture to the Christian churches in general. If you have a pastor and the pastor does something that's a little off color or somebody doesn't like, they'll rip him to shreds like wolves. And people need to start learning how to build each other up in love and not just go after each other and tear each other to shreds like a pack of angry wolves that are just fighting each other.
Well, again, just to add to this thing is, I'd like to know more. What can listeners and people that, you know, all of us truth warriors or whatever we want to call ourselves, what could we do? Can you, I mean, the book, what could we do? Is there anything that you can, that you'd like to plug or let us know?
Oh yeah, let me talk actually for everybody out there. Fritz has a website. It's pentracks.com. That's pentracks.com. And there he's got all his books. It's all are available for purchase. You said pretty much most of your catalog, isn't that right? Right, Fritz?
Yes, most of the books that I have available. I also have, for a limited time, the Wise as Serpent store. So people can email me and inquire about these things also. Springmeier messages at hotmail.com. I will try working to answer people's emails that email me.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
I appreciate you bringing that out so people can follow up on this video show.
Well, it really is a life-changing. I mean, I've read the book. It's life-changing. It's voracious material once you get into it, and it's at first very difficult to work through. You know, because the belief system. It's the hardest thing to chop down is the belief system that we've been grown and programmed by the media, you know, and programmed by television and the messages.
Well,
but it's an amazing.
There's places where people get upset at my material. One is like they turn to that one page where I talk about Count Dracula and Prince Charles, and I've had a number of people scream at me, Count Dracula is totally fictional, you know. Well, yeah, the Hollywood version of Count Dracula is fiction, but there was a historical figure called Count Dracula. So people have mixed in with, people don't even know history. Now, I had one lady who called me out of the blue. I don't even know who she was, and she was screaming at me as soon as I picked up the phone, telling me what an idiot I was, because in my formula book, I referred to Hollywood, Florida. She said, "You don't even know where Hollywood is." Well, guess what? There is a Hollywood, Florida.
There sure is.
So I get this kind of thing happen every now and then, where people just are, well, the word for it is ignorant, just ignorant, and it bothers them. This material might be true. Just lash out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the first stage, the first stage of awakening is anger. That was my reaction. When I'll give you a brief overview. When I woke up, I was in Albany on business, and I was in a hotel room, and there's nothing on TV in the hotels, you know. So you're chopping through the 6 stations they have, and there was a public access show playing Aaron Russo's film, Freedom to Fascism. And I just was astounded that the IRS is this big fraud. And that just made me angry. And then the more I learned, I get angry. But the idea of it being, you don't want to believe it. You know, it's like anger is the first reaction to the awakening.
Bad information.
Yeah.
Bad news.
Yeah, the anger, and then you're really mad. I mean, I'm still mad, actually. I mean, when you really get down to it, it's infuriating that our world is so controlled, and that they call us crazy conspiracy theorists or fanatics or whatever they want to call us. It's enraging to know the truth and to seek the truth and to research the truth, And, nobody wants to pick up a book. You're right. They listen to the History Channel. It says it on TV, and that's what they believe.
Yeah. Yeah, very well said.
Well, Fritz, I'm actually holding up your book. I'm going to show the camera a picture you have in here with Marilyn Monroe, and you got Jane Mansfield doing, I guess that's with Anton LaVey, this picture.
Anton LaVey.
You talk a little bit about the mind control. Can you tell the public that probably never heard or knew about Marilyn Monroe and these sex puppets?
How to approach the subject, which is enormous. The way I'm going to approach it at this moment is talking about the security systems, intelligence agencies have a job to protect intelligence. You have different things. One is you have the intelligence agencies are tasked with finding information out, but also protecting information. And so it was important for presidents not to just be randomly screwing anybody that they wanted,
Right.
but that the system would have control over who the presidents had sex with. So they've created hundreds of sexual kittens for the presidents so that whenever a president goes anywhere, he can have all of the sex that he wants, and it's with sexual kittens that are mind controlled. And the first one that they allowed for the public to see was who we were talking about. Marilyn Monroe, who again, like so many figures in history, actually, that wasn't her given name. She was a program multiple. She was totally debilitated, and I know a lot of men dream of they wish that they could have lived with her, but if you would have lived with her, you would have seen how dysfunctional she was. And they had a terrible time in Hollywood to get her to function so that they could make movies with her. They had to have a lot of patience. But the mind control had really debilitated her. And they had her going to a shrink just to try to keep her mind holding up because she'd been so heavily traumatized.
Was this MK Ultra mind control like Ewan Cameron? Was this Ewan Cameron's mind control? Ewan Cameron from was it Ewan Cameron's MK Ultra mind control?
Was one of the programmers.
Mm-hmm.
Also, listening to what you said, you probably didn't get to see while you were a political prisoner, but there's been a lot of things like Anna Nicole Smith and others, where, like what you're saying, it was so embarrassing seeing real footage where she acted like a 5-year-old girl or a little baby. It was disturbing, and it's probably the same thing like you're saying. They got these sex kittens or programmers, and it's still going on today. And I feel like that's like Hollywood and the movie stars. Oh, did we lose?
I don't know. Did we? I think we just lost Fritz.
Yeah, we've been
Yeah,
having.
it looks like my internet went down for a second there.
Okay, can you give him a call back real quick? We're going to recap, also talk about the rest of the show. Of course, everybody's going to be able to call in, so please give a call in. 860-866-4344. Talk with Fritz Springmeier and ask him any questions you want. We're going to be going maybe into a little overtime today. We'll go as long as he likes. I got a few people to talk about. First, I want to thank, again, I'd like to thank the Oath Keepers and John Beater. Also, Harold Shurtleff from the John Birch Society for all the work that they do in helping us to get the truth out as well. Also, I'd like to thank Pam Suggs of UnitedTruthSeekers.com, and Harry Link from DeathToTheNewWorldOrder.com, Jim Russell from We Are Change Connecticut.
I'd like to, for Hank with We Are Change Connecticut, he started his site for people in We Are Change or anybody. You could go to Hank's site. It's We See You 84, We, and then the letter C and the letter U 84. He makes custom shirts, if you see here. So that's again for a We Are Change member, Hank, giving him a little plug for his website. We See You 84.
That's right. And then tomorrow, from 6 to 8 p.m., we're going to have Roger Landry of the We the People Network, which has grown to over 1.2 million members, who will also be joined by Jim Condit, who's an author of a tremendous book of regarding the control system that we're under here. And then, of course, we're going to be also joined by Dr. Ed Spencer. 20 Million Death Rays Hits San Francisco is a recent article that he's written, and he's going to be talking about what motivates the New World Order and why they're doing what they're doing. And then next Saturday, we have Anthony J. Hilder from 6 to 8 p.m. from Free World Alliance. I think this is Fritz. Hi, Fritz. How are you? You having a little trouble getting through again?
Yeah, we still don't have call out on the
Yeah,
station.
we lost the Skype, but he's getting you back.
Yeah, I've tried to add him with my Skype. It wouldn't work.
Okay. I'm going to plug you into this thing, and we have an alternative source here. Yeah, it looks like they kicked you off.
Yeah, if he can call back, we'll get him
Oh,
back
actually,
on.
yeah. If you call the other number, he'll add you right on. Sorry for that. Yeah. Well, meanwhile, we're talking about your website, and be happy to get. We're going to take some calls in a few minutes. So thank you. Speak to you in just a moment. Okay. So he's going to call in there. Again, also the website for Mr. Let's see. It's Pentrax.com is for.
Can you spell that for them?
Yeah. PENTRACKS.com. And that is Mr. Springmeier's personal website, where again all the books are obtainable. Pentrax.com.
And really, I mean, I said this earlier, a lot of people, Fritz made this book in 1995. And, back then there was really no internet, there was no Ancestry.com, it wasn't like it is now. And while he's been away, a lot of people have used his videos, have used all this information that he put so much time and effort into. And that's why it's really important, and why I'm happy and Howard's happy to have him on here, is, everybody should, really help out this man who was the one who, I just feel like everybody got to use this guy's knowledge, and they've been spreading it for so long. The biggest thing you can do is actually buy his books. Instead of looking at these YouTube videos of people that made it off of Fritz, you should, it's like 2 packs of cigarettes or whatever. Buy a book. It's really nothing. We got to support our heroes. Fritz is one of mine, and I'm sure a lot of yours. And, a lot of our heroes aren't around right now. Well, Fritz is a hero who's still here, and we should be doing a lot and everything we can to help him. And I just wanted to say that.
Absolutely, and it's just true. The information is all real. It's all accurate, and that is why he is attacked constantly. That is why we lose Skype connections. That is why we weren't able to really set up this call. It took us 35 minutes to get this call together in the first place. They're just constantly attacking him, constantly attacking the truth movement, and they call it hackers. Meanwhile, they're the hackers. It's again the Hegelian dialectic at its best. Fritz, we were talking. You can continue where you were. I'm sorry that we had lost that Skype there, but please continue.
Okay, I don't know where we got cut off.
Oh yeah. Well, we were.
I think we were talking about mind control.
We were in the mind control with the sex slaves of the like people Kathy O'Brien and Bryce and all those.
Actually, I was talking about the
Marilyn Monroe.
No, Anna Nicole Smith.
Oh.
And people you probably didn't get to see, but a lot of famous people, and I'm mentioning Anna Nicole Smith because there's a famous case where you could actually watch the home videos of her doctor, and she's literally like acting like she's 5 years old. So like what you were saying about Marilyn Monroe, it's exactly what they did to Anna Nicole, and then they killed her. But it's still going around. I feel like most of these music artists and Hollywood artists are sex slaves. And again,
Right. Well, because the American and then Simpson both were program multiples, and it's a lot of those people that are being put in the public eye, actors, singers, are program multiples, and that's why they feel safe in allowing them to be in the public eye, and why they feel safe making them into idols is that they are under a severe form of mind control. The type of mind control that I expose has been going on for many centuries, from millennia, and in the 20th century was greatly improved through scientific methods, and it's absolutely incredible. When I say mind control, for the audience that hasn't read the books that I put out and haven't been involved in dealing with this face to face, the level that they're thinking I'm talking about is nothing compared to what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something that's probably a million times more powerful than what people think I mean when I say mind control. This is a total mind control, and it's undetectable. And what they've done is it's like baking a pie. A pie isn't just one ingredient. It's just not apples, but it's sugar, it's salt, it's flour, it's a lot of different ingredients. So what they have done with this total mind control is they have incorporated in a sophisticated package every method of controlling a person that's known, and also thrown in a whole bunch of methods that are unknown, newer technologies and newer methodologies. So they have a group package that just totally controls the person.
I was going to ask you, what about music? Wasn't also like one of the biggest tools that Satan or his big gift was music? Is something I think about, and also knowing how much music, like Bob Marley and a lot of people talked about the power of music, and that seems like to be one of their biggest tools. These Luciferians to do this to us, to mind control us through the music.
Very true. And then when they create these triggers, they will key these triggers into popular songs. So when they play a particular song over the radio, their slaves have been preconditioned that when they hear certain words or certain lyrics, that's going to trigger them to do certain things. There's certain songs they're able to use that will identify to people listening when to go to coven rituals, when to do certain other things. And you can see in the movie Telephone, which is a Charles Bronson movie, how some of these little ditties work. They can call up somebody under the mind control, say a little ditty over the telephone or a few trigger words, and that person who's been pre-programmed will go out and do a particular thing. Well, music can be used that way also. And I've sat there and watched this work.
I was going to say
you're being used in this way.
There actually is a case, if you want to look up, where it's Eminem. If you heard him, the rapper Eminem, there was a guy who listened to Eminem, and one night he woke up out of his sleep. This is on mainstream news. He woke up out of his sleep, started screaming that he was the Antichrist, and killed his wife and kids, and then called up the cops and said that he don't know what happened, that he was possessed, and he just started singing Eminem lyrics, and then killed his wife and kids.
That's actually like a scene right out of Telephone, actually, literally from that movie.
Yeah.
That is a scene.
Yeah.
There is a scene just like that. Interestingly enough, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Can we go into this thing? Again, I've done a lot of research on the mind control too, and you spoke about this and wrote about the See, people think multiple personalities, like Sybil had like 28 personalities. That's nothing. We're talking about thousands of personalities and one compartmentalized space. Can you speak on that a little bit?
Good question.
Yes, there's been a lot of deception or misinformation about MPD. Actually, MPD has been written about and studied for hundreds of years. I have a reference book which, let's see if I can pull it out here to get the title. It's Multiple Personality and Dissociation, 1791 to 1992, a complete bibliography. It's absolutely an amazing book. It's got, I don't know, hundreds if not thousands of references that have been going on. MPD's been studied in scientific literature since 1791. It's not a new subject. And that book isn't even comprehensive because I know of some of the older references from back then in colonial times that they don't even mention. But
Doesn't it usually come from
what
abuse?
happens when they shatter the mind, the equivalent to make an analogy is like if you took a mirror and you threw it against the concrete floor and you shattered it, you're not going to get just one piece. The shattering is going to shatter into many pieces. And the traumas that they use to create these psychotic breaks that shatter the mind, they're so severe that you don't get a shattering into one or two pieces. You get a shattering into thousands of pieces, thousands of dissociated pieces in the mind. And the programmer, when he goes back and finds these dissociated pieces, it's a survival mechanism of the body to be able to dissociate. When the programmer goes back, he's dealing with lots of pieces. And so the idea that you just have one or two personalities or five personalities, that's not the way it works. The programmer could come back and just work with a few pieces, but the mind has dissociated itself into many fragments. And generally, they will take a large number of these fragments and build it into a system, an alter system. Alter meaning a personality. And a standard Illuminati system, a very common system that I would find and work with in working with these people would be a 13 by 13 grid. Well, a 13 by 13 top level is going to have 169 personalities. And then you have 13 levels of 169 personalities in a standard system. You can see that there's a lot of personalities within these human robots.
And it all comes from serious trauma. Like I speak about maybe the sexual abuse that these pedophiles that are out there, and now they're in Connecticut. They caught the famous coach from Penn State. Now they got this guy in Connecticut, a teacher, and all these people, the pillars of community, quote unquote. All this rampant child pornography, child sex abuse. It's
all connected to the mind control.
It's all connected to it. I know, and it's all over the world, all over the country. It's
yeah. The scandals that were going on that were rocking the Catholic Church. For years you had Catholic priests that would bugger little boys, and then when the scandal would become public, the Catholic Church would move the priests from one place to another so that they could continue their activities with a bunch of new people that wouldn't know about who they were. this all ties back into the mind control. Yeah, the rampant sexual abuse of children, all connected back to this mind control. It serves a purpose, and it's been going on because of it.
Yeah, yeah, put on. It's insane.
And I guess if people are wanting to understand how this all works and how it all comes together, they need to get my two books. There's two fundamental books. There's the formula book, and then it sequel, The Deeper Insights. The formula book is like 500 pages, and The Deeper Insights is like 600 pages. They're large books, and what I've done is, since people were saying, they had their doubts that this was happening, to make another analogy, it's like saying, well, I don't believe that airplanes exist. The idea that something that's heavy can fly through the air is ludicrous, Well, instead of instead of arguing with them, what I have done is basically I've broken down an airplane into every little piece that there is, showing you how those pieces are built, and showing you that the people who are capable of making all these pieces and assembling them have the desire to do it. And when you go through and you read how the mind control is carried out and constructed, by the time somebody's finished reading, I've never had any problem with anybody that's read one of my books from cover to cover. Because by the time they're done, they're convinced.
Exactly.
That's
a great point. Like I said, when I started reading Bloodlines and some of and actually the mind control book, how to create the Illuminati create an undetectable total mind control slave. It's disturbing. I mean, the right words are like it's horrific. And once you can get past that, and then you keep learning and reading, and if you research what you've done, how could you not just be completely convinced? It's just they have to pick up the paper. They have to pick up the book and read it. You have to read Bloodlines of the Illuminati. Everybody listening, please. And you can get it at pentracks.com. That's pentracks.com. I'm not kidding. That book changed my life. Bloodlines of the Illuminati changed my life. And the whole outlook of everything, and it confirmed a lot of the things that I was thinking. So hats off to you, sir, for all your work that you've done for us. It's unbelievable. But the mind control, Fritz, I mean, I think this is the biggest, I think, actually, Vinny would agree, this is probably the biggest part of it, because we're under it. We're living it. Like Bill Clinton being mind controlled, and all the stuff that went on with his administration, and we can just talk about all of that. I mean, there's a video on YouTube, I don't know if you've ever seen it, of Bill Clinton having makeup put on before he was when he was running for president, and he is totally in a mind controlled trance. Have you ever seen that?
No, I haven't seen it.
But
I'm not surprised.
Mm-hmm. But it's like unbelievable. It verifies everything that you look at it, and the man is not there, and they're putting makeup on him. He is just not there. And then a moment later, he gives a perfect speech. Perfect, totally there, alive, vibrant, like a normal person. It's unbelievable. It's exposing mind control. And I talk to a lot of people. This is the thing that they think you're the craziest about, is the mind control, but it's real.
It is. It is. A lot of people are coming out. A lot of people are coming out, and they're speaking out, This is coming out into the public arena. And a lot of, Roseanne Barr, she came out publicly and talked about how she's a multiple, and a number of other public figures have come out and talked about being multiple personalities. And then some people like Jim Carrey, they just make movies about it.
Yeah.
Me, myself, Irene.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask you another question, Fritz, about what about Princess Diana? I mean, that's obvious about the bloodlines, and that had to be all about, her not
going with Dodi.
Yeah.
Not having a child with Dodi.
Can you talk a little bit about Princess Diana and all of that?
Wow, that's a big subject. One thing is right off the bat, they portrayed her as a commoner, but she has a Illuminati bloodline behind her too. She wasn't so much of a commoner. They had been very, they had spent a lot of time picking out who she would be. I think that there are different entry points for people to wake up to things being wrong. One is John F. Kennedy assassination. That's an entry point. The 9/11 is another entry point because the official version of things just doesn't hold water. And also
It's a fable.
The death of Diana. There's just a lot of things that are strange there. So just encourage people that are wanting to grow in their understanding of things that they could study that out. I think that there's other people that have spent more time looking at her death and are better informed on it than I am.
Well, I seen it
the
in your...
official story just had a lot of strange things to it.
Well, I was just going to what's in your book. You talked a little bit about like them choosing the marriages is what you were talking about. I forget what it was in the book, but someone else was supposed to have Diana, and then Prince Charles ended up getting her. That's all I was referring to. It's a little thing in your book about the chosen marriage with that.
What about the current princess? She's claiming to be a commoner too.
Which prince?
The princess, the current, princess. What's her name? I can't think of her name. The one that
Camilla Parker.
No, the one that they're the rock star one. They're making her a rock star. Her name's escaping me right now. The one that married William. Not William. Married the other one. Married. Oh my God.
I don't know.
I'm just thinking because she's claiming to be a commoner too. Her name's escaping me right now.
Kate Middleton.
Kate Middleton. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Well, I would, without knowing the details, feel confident that if somebody started looking into exactly who she was, that there would be some connection, that this wasn't as random as people would think.
That's what I figured.
These things are being very manipulated, and even people that think that they escaped the manipulation. And let's say you have some fellow and he's wanting to strike out on his own, and yet they will manipulate events so that the person that he thinks he randomly fell in love with, they still have pulled strings to get him involved with somebody that they want. I've sat and watched these kind of things for years, so I would venture a guess in that situation that she connects back in some way.
Yeah. They always do. So we were talking. You talked a little bit about 9/11 just a moment ago. It's it's such an important part. I think this is that's really the point where the New World Order sort of said, let's start really, turning up the steam, and that was a big mind control right there. That was that's a traumatic event that put the whole world into mind control.
Yes, it was a trauma. They love to use traumas to program us lies. Now, have you talked about 9/11 on your show already?
A lot.
We talk about it. It comes up all the time. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we go deep into 9/11.
And you probably have mentioned about Building 7 and things like this.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
In fact, we did a seminar with
have already been initiated into the fact that there's a lot of strange things about 9/11, And then, of course, the Patriot Act that resulted from it supposedly had been written long before 9/11. So, they needed a Pearl Harbor type event a Pearl Harbor watershed type event to take us in the direction that they wanted us. I remember back in 1995, I was traveling on a plane, and some woman, I don't know who she was, but while I was waiting for my plane, she was somebody, one of these Illuminati types, and she was talking to another lady, and she was bragging to this lady how much controls the American people were going to be subjected to. And she was saying they have no idea how much security and controls that are going to be put into these airports in the future. And she knew the whole plan, and she was telling a friend this. And sure enough, you saw all those things happen after 9/11.
What's really astounding,
and people like her knew it was coming down the road.
A long way down the road. And then, you look at the things that have happened, like in 93 when the building was bombed, the FBI gave Salam the bomb. I mean, they just not, and you're a conspiracy theorist. I'm just so tired of being called a conspiracy theorist when you're giving them solid facts, and there's even a recording of the guy who was smart enough to record the FBI agent telling him, no, we want it to be live. And then, of course, it wasn't positioned properly because a car was parked in the wrong place. But if supposedly it would have brought down the building, which I don't even believe anyway. But, the people are just, when you say it resulted in a war, it resulted in an endless war, weapons of mass destruction, and now it sounds like we're in the same place again. They want to make another war, so now Iran is the great threat for the nuclear threat, like Cuba.
Yeah.
Like Cuba, the Joint Chiefs, everyone wanted Kennedy to nuke Cuba. This isn't anything. This is all on record.
Always got to have the boogeyman.
There's always a boogeyman.
There's always a boogeyman that they create.
They back the boogeyman. They back the guy, then they make him a boogeyman, right, Fritz? Like people like Gaddafi, right? Even
right.
Gaddafi.
So now Iran's the boogeyman.
Yeah. So Osama bin Laden and the Bush family. What about the Bush family? How do they connect into the? I know they're Illuminati, but how do they? They're not a bloodline family, are they?
Yeah, they're Illuminati, a bloodline. They connect back in, and Prescott Bush, the grandfather was involved through Brown Brother Harriman in funding Hitler's rise to power.
Right.
So, and they've been multi-generational members of the Order of the Skull and Bones, which is a very powerful Illuminati fraternity, which is located there at Yale. One of their buildings, the Tomb, is there at Yale. It's a senior society, a fraternal organization, secret society. Of course, they, due to pressure, started letting women into it, as you know.
Recently, yeah. But what about what bloodline does he connect to? What does he connect to? But the Bush family, they're not one of the Bush family itself. Bush, or is it connected to?
You mean genealogically? How they connect
yes,
in?
yes, exactly. That's what I meant. Are they yeah, are they yeah, exactly.
Genealogically,
Right.
they connect back to some of the English and French kings, and they're also
Godfrey
if you
Napoleon.
look at my chart in the Bloodlines book that we've been talking about, you'll see how they genealogically connect back in. They go back to
Godfrey Napoleon, right?
family. So, there was a guy named William Cheney, and interestingly, Dick Cheney was more powerful than our late President Bush, who was just a mind-controlled puppet. He was a program multiple. Cheney had far more power. Was our late President Bush was just more, in my opinion, more of a figurehead that carried out instruction. Because, I even had a book of all of the stupid things that he had said publicly. At one point he was talking, and he didn't even know, as president, the difference between the three branches of government, executive, legislative, and judicial. And you'd ask yourself, how could someone be president and not even know something like that? Well, you have to understand that the man was multiple, parts of them really didn't know a whole lot about anything, and other parts of them were special purpose. So depending on which part you had speaking to the news media, you got all kinds of different answers. But Dick Cheney, who related to this Cheney family, which was the forefather of a number of presidents, they were descendants of King Edward I. Do you remember the movie Braveheart?
Yes.
And you remember the evil king that was going against the Scottish? I mean, depending on your
Edward
perspective in
Longshanks.
history, Edward I Longshanks wasn't evil to everybody. But he was from the House of Plantagenet, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I don't speak French. But that house ties back into the Priory of Zion and the Merovingians that we were talking about, remember? Right. And the Bushes are descendants from Edward I Longshank.
Oh, okay.
Of course, nobody's descended as far as American presidents from Braveheart. William Wallace, he gave his life as a martyr for freedom. And
I've noticed, Fritz, that since John F. Kennedy, I think every president except for Ford has Irish descent to them. I thought, that's a little curious to me.
Yeah, there's some strains of Irish in there.
Well, I know there's the British and like the Irish, like even with masonry, right? You got the one's the 13 and the degrees, the other one's 32 or 33. What's the difference between like the Irish and the British with the masonry and things like that?
Oh, well, I don't know that it's you have a York rite, you have a Scottish rite, you have different rites in Freemasonry. You have organizations that have been typically Irish. You have organizations that have catered to the English. I'm not sure how to answer your question, Tim.
Okay. No,
I
was
guess
just...
the best way of saying is different organizations cater to different groups. Prince Hall Lodge caters to to black Freemasons. The Irish, being Celtic, they tie in with certain families within the Illuminati. The English have always played a major role within the Illuminati, and the British Empire was a creation of the Illuminati. They used England as a vehicle for uniting the world, and the Venetian bankers set up situations so that the English and later the British, they're not synonymous. England was just one part of the United Kingdom. Mm-hmm. But the United Kingdom became great because of the backing of the bankers, and part of the British Empire was not quite what people think. For many years, the British East India Company ran India. It wasn't the British government, it was this company run by these big kingpins. And of course, the company wasn't important. It was the money that the kingpins could siphon away from the company. So eventually the company went more or less broke because the people that were running it were parasites that were just using the company for their own ends.
Sort of like what the bankers are doing to the American people. Parasites sucking us until we're dry.
The companies themselves are not what's important. They're just fronts. They're just tools that are manipulated by these kingpins.
Right.
They'll collapse their own banks.
Yeah, that's the thing. They'll cut their own.
S&L.
What about
the S&L scandal that the Bushes were involved with?
Right.
And these people will collapse their own organizations, just like they allowed the British East India Company to collapse, because it was just a vehicle for them to find a way to make money.
Absolutely. You know, it's great. You just made a great point that it just like struck a bell in my head, was about like with BP. Look at you got the Rockefellers and the Queen of England basically owning BP. Amoco merged with BP in 1988, and they cut off their own foot for their environmental fraud, for their fraud of like, oh, we're going to, let's look, this is terrible, let's control, look at all this. And they'll spend billions and billions of dollars. Meanwhile, they say the Gulf, everyone go back to the Gulf. And would you go to the Gulf and eat some shrimp from there, Fritz? What do you think? With all that core exit B? It's terrible. And they did exactly that. They cut off one of their, they caused a tremendous amount of trouble for their own company, and fund the opposition to their evil, which is this is like textbook.
Yeah, they'll take down their own companies. None of these companies are sacred. You're going to watch a number of companies that are what's the word I want to use? They're name brand to the American people. Some of these are going to disappear in the next few years. It really doesn't matter. These were just fronts that were created to make money for powerful people. They can create something else later on. It's not like these are sacred.
Right, like BP can go down, and so they could press this. Oh, look, we put BP's out of business. They're evil. Blah blah blah. Look at that. We're going to clean up the environment. We're going to move to green energy, and they'll keep doing it. And wow, they're crushing the oil company. Hey, do you know the oil companies are investing in green energy? Wow, that's great. We're moving off fossil fuels, and it's just like it makes me nauseous because that's what they're doing. It's the Hegelian dialectic. They're creating their own problem, and then they're offering the solution.
Right, exactly. It's controlled conflict.
And dividing and conquer the people.
Standard. Right. Divide and conquer and controlled conflict. And those are standard tools they use.
It's amazing. You got. I mean,
Well,
you had so many. You should see all the questions Vinny has. I'm sure Vinny has another question.
Well, no. I'm just wondering if people want to call in still. 860.
Yeah, we haven't had a caller. 860-866-4344.
I find that hard.
Yeah,
to
I'm
believe.
here.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Ray, you've just been listening. What are you
Yeah,
trying to? You have any questions?
You've obviously filling all the air gaps because there's so much to ask Fritz anyway.
So much.
Yeah, I mean, I'm relatively new to the waking up in the New World Order, as in 18 months is sort of when I really started waking up to it. But I've recently come across Fritz, and it was via the Alex Jones fundraiser that I saw Fritz being interviewed. So I actually downloaded his book from the internet. I've not bought it yet, Fritz, but I will be investing in your material. But I'm just fascinated by the people that have known about this, this whole New World Order Illuminati agenda for so many years, and have just been shunned by the public. And now we're in this mass awakening.
Yes. It's becoming more mainstream. I kind of joke to myself that when I was hauled off to prison, a lot of this material was taken by others, and great things were done with it. And so I kind of joked to myself, well, maybe I should go away again so that more great things can be done with this material. It's in a lot wider circulation. A lot more people are awake. You have some mainstream shows that are beginning to cater to this kind of information, and so it's being leaked out in a controlled way in the mainstream. Things have changed quite a bit since 20 years ago.
I was fascinated about the thing about the castle where the tortures were going on. That was a recent discovery.
You broke up. Say again.
The castle with the Illuminati, where they were actually doing the human sacrifices. I was fascinated by that.
Oh, the castle. Yeah. There near Monroe, Belgium. Yeah. That's important. This important castle, Chateau des Amoureux. It's a Mother of Darkness castle. John Nicholas came out with a book about the Dutro affair scandal, and that book, I don't know if it came out in English. It came out in French, but I first found out about the castle when I started working with people that had been in rituals in the castle back in 1991. And they were able to describe it to me, but they didn't know exactly. They knew the general location, but they didn't know exactly where it was. And having been in Europe, I knew that Europe was not a very large place. The county I live in is about the same size square miles as Belgium. So I had a couple of research friends that I gave them the general location and asked them if they would go out and get an exact fix on it, which they did. And the little town that it's near, the village of Muna, is absolutely kind of a bizarre. It's like something out of a horror movie, the way the people act in that little village. And the police that they talked to, there were a couple of policemen that told them that they had been warned, that there's certain things that you're to leave untouched. Like this one policeman came across a whole carload of kids that were being taken to the castle, and his superiors told him to forget about it, you know, and not look into it. Just a lot of strange things.
Fritz, have you heard the news recently about the Saxe-Coburg's castle digging up bodies?
I heard about the castle, but just very little. Can you mention about it?
Well, in the mainstream, the Saxe-Coburgs, of course, for the listeners, is the Windsor household, the British royals, and their holiday residence is Balmoral in Scotland. And apparently, a body was turned up, and now I believe another body's been turned up. So we could be talking about satanic rituals again.
Yeah.
Yeah, dead bodies.
Yeah, but obviously they want to distance the royal family from these bodies by saying there's a lot of people actually live on the land as well.
Well, some of these places have human hunts. Like here at the Mother of Darkness Castle, they would sometimes have these places where these hunts where they turn people loose, and then these people are hunted.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We saw that in predictive programming in the films like Hard
Dangerous
Target,
Game,
the Jean-Claude Van Damme one, where they basically take poor people, offer them an incentive. You know, here's $10,000 if you can go from point A to point B without being, you know, intercepted. And then they'd go out and hunt them down.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So there are lots of
people some of the people that have been chased in those hunts have talked with me. So, you know, I've gotten it firsthand from my witnesses that were on the victim side of it.
Yeah.
The hunted side of it.
So,
yeah, I mean, this has been a recurring theme through various horror films, and you're just wondering whether they're actually exposing the real truth through these fictions.
I think so. I think absolutely. I mean, that's what I would.
Yeah, a lot of times.
Go ahead, Fritz. I'm sorry.
Oh well, it's a strange world. What they say is that when they show something as historical or truth, a lot of times it's fiction, and when they show something as fiction, a lot of times there's a lot of truth in it.
Yeah, like the U2 line. Fact is fiction and TV is reality.
Fritz, a lot of people kept asking me to ask you this question, so I'm gonna, what is your take on all the UFO stuff? Do you think it's like fallen angels, or what is your take on this whole UFO thing?
Well, most of the genuine side of the phenomenon are government craft. And you'll find the U.S. government and the Illuminati are on both sides of the issue. Again, it's controlled conflict which have muddied the waters. But they did a good disinformation campaign back after World War II in associating aliens with UFOs. So when people heard the word UFO, they thought about little green men and aliens. They didn't think about, this is a secret government project.
Yeah.
The U.S. government's had flying saucers since the early 50s. These are anti-gravity craft. They've gone through many generations of using different technologies and generations of equipment. But they've kept all of this secret, and they've been using these flying saucers, which give them incredible capabilities as far as transportation.
Also, the Nazis didn't the Nazis also were working on UFOs and had top secret stuff?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, they flying saucers were being worked on before the U.S. government.
Mm-hmm.
good book documenting from 3D documentation. And for someone who people like to bite their teeth into good, strong documentation, a guy named Henry Stevens wrote Hitler's Flying Saucers, the guide to German flying disc of World War II. He doesn't get off and say, oh, okay, I had this dream, or somebody who's channeling told me this. He actually goes and interviewed eyewitnesses, dug up old documents, and the book is very, very well written, based on real, genuine documentation. So the Foo Fighters that the Nazis had, that the Americans were calling Foo Fighters, they weren't able to help the German war effort in fighting, because the Germans hadn't developed weapons to take advantage of the flying saucer's incredible speed.
Yeah,
incredible.
Thank you. That you answered.
Thank you so much. And we have another caller. This is who's calling? You're on the air with We Are Change with Fritz Springmeier.
Vinny. How you guys doing? It's Jim.
Okay, Jim, Vinny, and Mike. Okay, we got all three is on there. Okay. All right.
Nice. I have one question for Fritz.
Go ahead.
What do you take on Bush and Obama, the relations between them? The New England Ancestral, I don't know what the full name is, but they're New England Ancestral Organization, I think maybe Society. They actually printed out some information pertaining to Obama and Bush being related by 11th cousins once removed. What is your take on that?
Yeah. Well, yeah, they're they are 11th cousins or whatever. Obama does tie back into these bloodlines, and that's come out. That's become public knowledge in recent times.
Yeah, through his mother's side, Stanley and Dunham.
That's right.
Is where the bloodline comes through. The mom was 8th generational paternal grandfather to Jonathan Singletary Dunham. I guess that's their connection to Edward I.
Oh, very interesting. That's excellent. And Dick Cheney, and their cousins.
Yeah.
Yeah, it all makes sense. Now, if everyone knows this, if we could spread this information, come on, this is like, it's like, talk about nepotism, it's beyond nepotism, right? I mean, forget about the evil, just like, look at this, it's like, there is no real, you can't become president. It says anybody that's 35 years old can become president, that's been natural born. Well, let's not go with the natural born thing now. But it's just a very sad thing, everybody out there. Anybody got another question for Fritz? Who's next?
I don't mean to interrupt if anyone else is going to jump in. Hi, Howard. It's Matt.
Hey, Matt. This is Matt from We Are Change, Connecticut.
Yeah, it's We Are Exchange, Matt. The guy who always calls in. Mr. Springmeier, I was going to ask a more generic question, a little off topic. Would you say that in the point of view, from your point of view, from your educated opinion, that the worldview that the elites, and more specifically the Illuminati members, get are come from a sense of observation, in the sense that they're being raised, obviously by their parents who have that worldview, or is it more spoon-fed, direct education from a very early age into that kind of like the cultic personality, very high upper echelon type personality?
When you're born into an Illuminati bloodline, at a very young age, they get you involved in rituals, and you're told the secret history of your family and how important it is, and that you need to live up to the traditions and the family heritage. And so the person is endeavoring to uphold this tradition, so they're inculcated with this whole tradition. It's just like when you grow up as an American, you're told what your heritage is. We've got the Declaration of Independence, and we've got the Liberty Bell, and we've got these things. Well, they're raised up and told the icons and the different things about their family, but they keep that all of those traditions secret. They don't tell the world about this, but they're born into that tradition, and that shapes their worldview. And then the things that they are forced to do, you can't do something in the here and now without it having spiritual ramifications. For instance, if somebody murders another person, that is a physical act, but it also carries with it spiritual connotations. So a lot of the things that they are forced to do change their spiritual perspective. And when you develop a certain spiritual perspective, you start seeing the world through that perspective. And that shapes your thinking. And then there are day-to-day activities where they're led to think that the world revolves around them and their power. These all shape their worldview.
That's exactly right. I just want to interject. It's amazing because there's a show on television on Showtime or one of these things called Spartacus, right? Where they're doing ritualistic murder, and they're like sensationalizing it, and all this stuff, and the slaves and the gladiators and the violence. It's all this metaphorical messages. I've watched the show.
Hello?
It's how you're on the air with Howard Nima and Vinny Be the Truth and We There Change and the great Fritz Springmeier. So Fritz, I just wanted to talk to you. Did you ever see that by any chance? Have you ever taken
no,
or know of the show?
I did. I know that there's been a number of shows showing gladiators. It's one of the things that they seem to be
they love that.
Yeah,
the slaves and the the characters are like literally they embrace their servitude like Aldous Huxley. They embrace their servitude. It's just incredible. They show it to be sexy to be a slave. I'm not kidding. They show it's sexy to be a slave.
Who called?
All right, who's our next caller there?
Hey guys, it's Alec. How you doing, Howard?
Alec, how are you?
All right.
Okay, we got the whole We Are Change community calling in here. All right.
Yeah, We Are Change Connecticut, man. Fritz, I just want to start off by saying, you're not alone in this fight. I'm sure you know that. There's so much I wanted to say. I have one main question, honestly, I want to ask you, because I've followed your work for about 6-7 years now. I'm sure when you went away as a political prisoner, I don't think the web is what it is today. It wasn't. And I don't think you know how many lives you really have touched. And, just to tell you that, I'm all the way across the other side of the coast. And, I feel like you're a personal family. I feel like, someone who I look up to as a new role model, as a real role model, to try to, show people exactly what's going on in this crazy society. Just real quick, I just wanted to get your take on one thing. With all the information and all the evidence and everything pointing to where it is, people are waking up. I must say that, whether it's, slowly but surely. My main thing is, realistically, do you think there's anything we can do? And if so, do you think it'll take a violent revolution or something, or of another false flag attack on magnitudes we can't even imagine to wake people up? I'm just wondering what you think, in your personal opinion, if the fight's worth even fighting. I mean, I know it's worth telling people and trying to wake people up, but are we going to accomplish anything, or is the biblical prophecy going to be fulfilled? And that's my question, and I'll wait on the air or off the air for your question. And God bless you, Fritz, and I would love to meet you one day, man. Keep fighting a good fight, Fritz.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for the kind things that you said and the encouraging things. The scriptures that he was referring to is in Revelation where it says, who can fight the beast, you know? Who can make war against the beast? And that's a genuine question. You know, who was able to take on the Roman Empire? You know, so we have this enormous, if you want to call it a second Roman Empire, we have this enormous...
It's definitely a second Roman Empire.
Political entity with all kinds of high-tech weapons and the ability to monitor everything and satellite spying on us, reading our license plates and on. And they even let us experience some of it, like you can go to Earth Google and see the license plates on cars through Earth Google. Imagine what they're able to do. And so it's a legitimate question to ask, can we really make a difference? But I think that's coming from the wrong angle. That's saying that we can't move forward and do what's right unless we're assured of some kind of a victory. I think the real question is what is God calling us to do? What does a good person do? When I use the word good, of course, I mean that relatively. I don't mean that we're earning our salvation, but good in a relative sense. When a man of God, when a good person is confronted with things like this, what do you do? And Christ wants us to make good decisions. We come along and we see somebody in the ditch, we help them. When we see mind control victim, we help them. When we see that the things that they have planned for future generations, the enslavement of our sons and daughters, we have to do something. So it's not a matter of whether we're going to succeed or fail. It's a matter of we are good people that are called to do what's right. And we just have to stand up and do what's right and let the chips fall where they fall and let God be our effectiveness. It's like if you're going to make an analogy, if you're a missionary, as you start sharing the good news, you don't say, well, am I going to succeed with this person or not? If I'm not going to succeed with sharing the good news with this person, I'm not going to share it. No. You know that you have good news to share, so you share it. And you let the chips fall where they fall. So, likewise, if we know the truth and we can, and somebody's willing to listen, we tell them the truth. You know, we don't sit there and predetermine whether we're going to succeed or not, because that's putting that's limiting ourselves. It's like in so many things in life, set yourself positive, good goals in life, and then move forward on those goals. And to say, do I have a guarantee that I'm going to reach my goals? No, we're not guaranteed anything in life. But if we're not going to move forward and do what's right just because we're not given a guarantee, then you're not going to accomplish anything.
That's amazing. That was amazing. That was an incredible speech. And it's so true. Listen, there's a reason why we know this information. There's a reason why we all learn this information. There's a reason why you're listening right now. It's because we do want truth. We love truth. And without truth, there will always be chaos. And you can't worry about, like you said, Fritz, I mean, it's like, why do people have races? You might lose. Why do people enter contests? You might lose, you know? Why do, you have to... Yeah. They're trying to just say, don't fight back. They're trying to lull us the best they can with their television and their food additives and their fluoride in the water and their drugs and their 75% of the people are on some sort of a psychotropic drug. It's crazy. It's insane. It's insane. Do we have another caller? Anyone else out there chatting? Okay. Fritz, I mean, I don't know what to say, but that was just an amazing breakdown of what is truth. I mean, it's good work. This is like, what are you gonna do with your life? You're gonna, go after some personal thing, or you're gonna realize that humanity's at risk. I mean, it's sort of like finding out, like you said, that Hitler's here. He's coming. He's this bad guy, and these other people that are their friends. You're crazy. You made a great point. When these people escape from the concentration camps, come back to tell their neighbors and friends, they don't believe them. We have to make the people believe them. Believe us. Believe us. There's a Patriot Act. Believe us that Clinton put it in place with the first anti-terrorism bill, and the gun bans and all this stuff that we had to keep fighting because they want to take our weapons away so that we can't defend ourselves when it comes down to hot tyranny. And now you're a terrorist because we're talking about this, and because this is crazy. If you look at your watch, you're a terrorist. If you use cash, you're a terrorist. I mean, it's just, it's insane. Oh. It's insane, Fritz.
Back in '91, in the Be Wise the Serpent's book, I started exposing concentration camps that have already been built. Americans want to delude themselves that these kind of things could only happen in some country like Nazi Germany or with Pol Pot in Cambodia. Hey, the same kind of people, like you were asking about the Bush family. The Bush family financed Hitler. We got the same kind of people here as what made Germany into Nazi Germany. And the same people are going to turn America into Nazi America.
It is. It's the same thing. And you tell people, and they look at you like you have 10 heads, Fritz, but it's like the evidence is right there. We funded IG Farben, and Standard Oil worked as one company, basically. They funded the money through the Union Bank, which is 2 blocks down from my house. There's a Union Bank, the very same Union Bank, by the way. That ThyssenKrupp and all of that. These people now buy they're all involved in all of this Homeland Security industry, and the whole idea of this thing is exactly for that. Chernoff, our Homeland Security head, sets up a deal before he steps down to become the CEO of Rapiscan, putting in these naked body scanners at the airports. So he steps down and becomes CEO of the company, and nobody does anything. These senators and congressmen invest in inside information and profit from it, and it's a little ripple in the water. People are sleeping, and they're killing us. They're poisoning us with the chemtrails. What are your thoughts on the geoengineering and all of the what they're doing with our bodies and our food and the drugs? Can you speak on that?
Oh, they're destroying our brains. The food that they're putting out, it never ceases to amaze me. I look around me and I'm like, you mean people will allow themselves to be poisoned like this? And there was a mayor of a little Washington town out here in our area, and a lot of the kids, so they've been selling industrial waste to farmers, and we have destroyed the topsoil in this country with this industrial waste. And she tracked this down, and there's a book, Toxic Harvest, that it's hard to get, but it documents how she exposed us all. But unfortunately, she didn't get very much cooperation or help from the general public. Again, they wanted to be have their heads in the sand and ignore what they're eating. Absolutely amazing that they had been poisoning us, and we've been allowing them to do it. And you might ask, well, why do they want to poison us? Because people that are not healthy, that are sick, are easier to control. We're constantly dependent upon their medical system. Plus, we don't live long, and population control and population reduction is also part
part of their agenda.
Can we talk about the eugenics a little? I mean, where...
Oh,
yeah, the eugenics, the whole thing,
one of the ladies here in Portland was responsible for writing up that new health care bill that Obama was doing. This was about a year ago, and she was really disturbed because she was having to write it was a clause in there that was going to give the government euthanasia rights. And it really bothered her that they forced her to write that in there. Basically, what our government's setting themselves up to do is kill the useless eaters.
Exactly.
Just like Nazi printing.
It is. All they're doing is replaying the Nazi playbook. It's so obvious. I mean, and it's even more insidious with the vaccines. They're giving us cancer so they could actually. You pay for your own enslavement. You pay for your own death because you get these vaccines and they're giving you cancer, and then you pay for the cancer treatment until the radiation kills you. And then all of the holistic versions, and this is on record, all the hospitals, they're all saying we don't want to accredit any more chiropractors or holistic medicine or herbal medicine. Anything like that is bad and evil unless it's big pharma or it's bad and evil. And the people just, they're just not getting it. They're poisoning us. They're giving us the cancers. It says it, Orencia, take Orencia. Well, it might cause cancer. I mean, and people still take it. I mean, that's how, but the mind control. It's back to the mind control, Fritz.
Yeah, it's there's so much we've been glossing over, like you say, on issues that you could spend a long time on. Where that whole poisoning thing struck close to home here is we had a friend, and she had called to have her trees sprayed just to keep the bugs from eating the fruit, right? And the company that came in and sprayed the trees used Agent Orange, which is more expensive than the herbicide that she had requested. They sprayed Agent Orange on it. Her dog got cancer, died. Her kids got cancer. She took samples of the stuff that they sprayed, sent it to a lab, and they said it was Agent Orange. And she tried to get the EPA involved. And the EPA is supposed to be protecting us, right? They weren't interested.
Well,
they laughed at her.
Yeah, of course they laughed at her.
We have the wolf guarding the chicken coop.
That's exactly right, Fritz. In every case, that's Monsanto. Monsanto makes all that. Monsanto makes all this evil. They're the ones that. Do you know 1,200 farmers in India die? They commit suicide, Fritz, every month because of a Monsanto fraud, where they basically, these farmers lost everything they had, putting their gamble on Monsanto's chemicals and their seeds. You can Google that. It's horrific. It is going on as we speak. What happened is they actually bought these. They mortgaged their properties in hopes of these tremendous yields that they'll never ever see in their lives. It's unbelievable. Big sales pitch. Hundreds of thousands and hundreds of thousands of farmers lost their farms to the banks because they had 3 failed crops. Because I believe the seeds that they used actually destroyed the crops and didn't help make them abundant. That's personal. I can't prove it, but somebody really should investigate that in that country. And I know that there are people that are trying, but there's no proof. But it's so like the New World Order to do that, And it's Monsanto. And you can Google it. It is the most horrific truth that's out there. 1,200 a month. 20. That's just unbelievable. That's that's over hundreds of thousands. I think like 200,000 farmers have killed themselves. And the way they kill themselves, Fritz, is they drink. And you can YouTube this. There are videos, it's horrific, where to make a statement, these people commit suicide, which is absolutely insane. But it's like immobile. It's like people that burn themselves, and it's just crazy. But makes their point. and they drink the poison that they bought for these crops.
Wow.
And it takes them like several hours to die, and it's a horrific death. And everyone knows they're going to die this horrific death, but they all take the same poison that they... So, I mean, but nobody reports that. You won't find that anywhere. Nobody will tell you that. So that's why I do this. I get this news out every Friday from 1 to 3 and every Saturday from 6 to 8 here on Informed Radio. And it's just like, you know, more people have to do this. Everybody listening who gets this information needs to share this information and do your own work and get out there, do your own research and spread this message. Make your own YouTube videos, make your own live stream accounts. It's just so important. Because it's eugenics. Look at that. They're torturing. They know that these people are going to kill themselves. And then what about these? They talk about how many people died in the wars, Fritz. 6,700 Americans. What about three times that many committed suicide? Did you know that? But they don't tell you that.
Wow.
They don't tell you that. So those aren't casualties. You see what I mean?
Right.
It's again back to those aren't casualties. The post-traumatic stress syndrome.
Reporting that a person killed is really the only casualty that they care about. That's just the tip of the iceberg of the casualties.
Yeah.
You know, let's say somebody loses their leg. What have you done to their life? You know, they're still alive. They may not be counted as somebody dead, but what have you done to their life after they lose their leg? Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean that they can't overcome that, because I had an uncle who lost his leg in Vietnam, you know, and he went on to have a healthy, successful life and raise kids, but definitely they underreport the horror of these wars.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. And then they never, you know, I just think, look back in time, you know, Madeleine Albright saying, I know it's a horrible thing, but I think it's a price we have to pay about the fact that the sanctions killed 500,000 children in Iraq. It's just, you know, they just somehow, you know, and that's understandable, and they stand by these things. They do these horrific things. The United Nations says we're going to go help you, and next thing you know, there's genocide.
Well,
I'm so like, you know, and then now you talk against the United Nations. Oh my God, you're a radical, radical, whatever. But this is world government. We're actually in it, and they're clamping it down so that when they give up our sovereignty, and we all pretty much not going to let that happen. I mean, I know God forbid, ever happens in my lifetime. There's no way we cannot give up this country. But that's what these other banks are going to do to all these other countries. It's only a matter of time before they give up their total sovereignty. And even if they don't on paper, they've already given it up willingly. You know, let's let NATO send Obama to war. I mean, we really technically, NATO's pulling let NATO, the United Nations says it's okay, so Obama can do that. No, the Constitution's garbage. That's what they've done to us. They've made the Constitution garbage.
Fritz, I'd like to just change this
Sorry.
topic for a second. Is there anything you got coming up that you'd like to talk about, or is there anything in the future we could be looking for you? Anything on schedule?
No, nothing that comes to mind. Next week, I'm going to have a first for myself, in that I'm going to be on a radio show in England. I've never been on a show. It's Patrick Lynch in the UK.
I know Patrick Lynch. He's a friend of mine on Facebook. We've chatted and shared videos. Yeah. Oh yes, excellent. Fantastic.
Okay.
He's really good. He's gone on Rothschild's property and actually talked to them while he's cutting his lawn. Rothschild's over there, and he's actually cutting his lawn. You know, one of the brothers and one of the family. And he tells him about the New World Order, and he's like, "Oh, that rubbish." It's really cool. Real cool. That should be awesome. If this is it is Patrick Lynch. Yeah, that's great. He has a lot of videos on YouTube. A lot.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Fritz, in the future, if you ever get back into those speaking things, We Are Change community, we're all over. I'm sure lots of We Are Change chapters all over would love to, like I told you, get a library or anything to help you out if you ever want to do speaking in the future,
Well, maybe at some point I will be going out on and speaking. And if I'm ever in the Connecticut area, why I would love to drop in and be with you guys, and see firsthand, and maybe speak to your groups out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm just preoccupied with reestablishing my life here on the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
Lord willing, who knows? Maybe I will write some more. But really, what I feel called to do is give people hope, and I call people to do noble deeds. Everybody, no matter who you are, no matter what your religious persuasion, everybody can rise up to do a noble deed. And what I mean by a noble deed, I don't mean just helping some grandmother across the street, but I mean some really, really significant contribution to humanity. And everybody can do that. Everybody can rise and leave the world a better place than what they came into it. And if we all do our part, it's like, to make an analogy, if we all clean up our own house and our own backyard, the whole city will look nice,
Mm-hmm.
So let's all contribute what we can in a positive way, and that's what I want to encourage people to do. I want to write more along the lines of encouraging people and giving them hope. So that's when you mention about what I see for the future. That's what I see myself doing in the future is encouraging people, no matter who they are, to do these noble deeds.
That's great.
I started putting some information up on Henry McCow's website about over a year ago on the subject. I don't know if they're still up there, but if people visit his site, they would have already seen the direction that I'm taking along the lines of noble deeds.
Well, it's a great job, Fritz. It's a great job, and we'll all, we all pray for you, and we'll do anything we can to help.
Absolutely. We Are Change are behind you, and we've got your back. So you can always depend on that.
I really appreciate all the support that people have given me. It's made a world of difference for me, and I don't work isolated. I mean, what I mean by that is if it wasn't that people read my books, then what would be the purpose of writing them? Mm-hmm. I didn't write the books for myself. I wrote the information so that other people would know these things. And so everybody out there, your listeners are important to me, and you guys have made a very big positive contribution in my life, and I'm very thankful for my readers. I'm very thankful for the support that people have given me. That's made the difference in my life, especially in this last year after coming out of prison, trying to reestablish a life. I'm so grateful and thankful for all of the help and support people have given me.
Well, thank you. We didn't want to go too much into this, but as you know, I mean, the whole thing is just it's just a it's like a Jonah's tale, you know. It's unbelievable what you've been through, and you really are an inspiration to everybody that knows the truth, and I'll put it at that. And I mean, God bless you and Godspeed in all you do, and thank you so much for joining us. I mean, it's been a real pleasure and an honor, sir.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Benny and Howard. Thank you very much. I enjoy being on your show, and thank you for giving me the chance just to talk away.
Well, you can come anytime. And again, the Bloodlines of the Illuminati at pentracks.com, pentracks.com. And again, we are changed. Thanks, Fritz Springmeier. You're welcome here anytime. You have the number. You can call us anytime, and hopefully we'll have you on again if you can make the time for us, sir.
Yeah.
Great. We'll have to take that into consideration. Great. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was Fritz Springmeier. God bless you, sir.